Now, President George W. Bush famously vowed to find Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice, quote, dead or alive. But nearly 6 months later, 6 months after saying he wanted him dead or alive, President Bush said this.
I don't know where he is, nor do, I just don't spend that much time on him. I wouldn't necessarily say he's at the center of any command structure. I truly am not that concerned about him.
I truly am not that concerned about him. That's what the White House decided the president had to say once they realized how difficult it was going to be to find Osama bin Laden. President Bush took bin Laden from, quote, the focus to just, I just don't spend that much time on him. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's the center of any command structure. I truly am not that concerned about him. That became the Bush administration position. The Bush administration had clearly made the political and tactical decision that they could not allow the perception of their success in their war on terror to turn on the capture of one person, a person they did not know how to find. And so wanted dead or alive became not that concerned. In 2005, the Bush CIA actually closed its unit whose mission had been to hunt Osama bin Laden and his top lieutenants. We don't know where Osama bin Laden was until 2005, but we do know that the home that he was found in was built for him in 2005, that same year that the CIA closed the unit that was hunting bin Laden. Somehow that year, bin Laden got the feeling that he could settle down comfortably in a walled fortress in a Pakistan suburb. But someone was still thinking about bin Laden in a lethal way.
If we have Osama bin Laden in our sights and the Pakistani government is unable or unwilling to take them out, then I think that we have to act, and we will take them out. We will kill bin Laden. We will crush al-Qaeda. That has to be our biggest national security priority.
That was candidate Barack Obama running for president, saying, unlike President Bush, who had announced, as you've seen, that he was not that concerned about bin Laden, President Obama would make his biggest national security priority getting Osama bin Laden. And so he did.
Shortly after taking office, I directed Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA, to make the killing or capture of bin Laden the top priority of our war against al-Qaeda.
Joining me now, Thomas Ricks, senior fellow at the Center for New American Security and contributing editor at Foreign Policy magazine. Tom, thanks for joining me tonight.
You're welcome.
Tom, what about the leadership difference between these two administrations? President Bush had basically almost all of his 2 terms to get this done. President Obama made it a top priority, told Leon Panetta this is the top priority. They got it done. It feels like there was a big difference in emphasis.
I think the big difference is more rhetorical. You're seeing Obama, I think, at his best with that rhetorical coolness, whereas Bush with bin Laden wavered all over the place, sometimes talking like an Old West gunfighter, sometimes talking like a guy in a bar saying, you know, it just don't matter that much to me anymore. Whereas Obama, through the campaign and in his presidency, has maintained this rhetorical coolness that I think goes to the center of his character and his approach. I think the other big difference is the people around him, especially who's running the Pentagon. When you had Donald Rumsfeld at the Pentagon, there was a kind of freneticness to him. He was sending this blizzard of snowflakes, these memos to people. He often didn't treat his subordinates like they were well-trained professionals. Whereas Gates, as Secretary of Defense, has said, look, you guys, know your job, go and do it. And I'll let you know if you're doing it wrong. So I think those are the 2 big differences I see.
And the CIA was crucial in this operation. Obviously, Leon Panetta took over the CIA without any prior dedicated professional experience in intelligence, although having been a White House chief of staff, he was certainly exposed to intelligence and analyzing intelligence, but that's not the same thing as coming from the community. It seems clear at this point that Leon Panetta's record as a CIA director in the so-called war on terror is better than anyone who worked under the Bush administration.
I think it certainly will help him in his confirmation hearings to be Secretary of Defense, to have this raid in his background. I think what I would point to especially is the cooperation you saw here between the military and the CIA. White House officials were very clear that this was a CIA-commanded operation using SEAL Team 6, a special operations group. So a very impressive amount of coordination there that, again, is kind of a contrast to the friction you saw frequently between the Rumsfeld Pentagon, the Powell State Department, and the CIA under Tenet back then.
And when you read the literature, the books of it, you look at your work and Bob Woodward's work, there seems to be a very personal quality to that tension. It doesn't seem to be just institutional and traditional. It does seem to be Rumsfeld personality-based and others. Is that more typical than what we seem to be seeing in the Obama administration, which is a group of people who seem to get along and respect each other?
I think so. I mean, you always have those institutional frictions, but I think they got very personal in the Bush administration. I think generally there's much more a kind of calmness about this group that I think, again, reflects the coolness at the center of the administration and kind of President Obama's reflective, rather detached approach to events.
Thomas Ricks with Foreign Policy Magazine. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Tom.
You're welcome.